Good morning. Happy Tuesday to you if you're watching it live with us today, and you're joining us today for Jobcare Live. This is week 3 of our current session, and we're going to be enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying a lovely warm day. It's a really nice day for the end of September. I think people call that the Indian summer, but it seems to be a regular occurrence at this stage, and hopefully it's going to last for a while. But it was lovely warm for my trip out this morning walking the dog. Loads of people are already saying hi, so I'll just have a quick look over here at the other screen and see. Yes, good morning, Deepa, Sandra, Connor, Breffney, another Sandra, Damien, Hind, Ruth, Fiona, Sarit, Owen, Elizabeth, Julie, Robert, Susanna, Roger, Fran. Loads of people already saying hi, and in the comments, it's great to see almost 40 people on with us as we're getting started this morning. It's great to have you here. We'll be looking for your comments throughout the rest of the morning, and if you've got questions on our topic, then you'll be able to pop them in there and I'll relay them on. This morning we are joined by some of our friends at LinkedIn. For a good number of years now, LinkedIn have been great supporters of ours, and it makes for a great relationship because LinkedIn's like a premium network for connecting and talking to other professionals. It's a great way to network. It's a great way to grow your connections, to research companies, to find out new ideas, and to just kind of get on with your career search and career advancements and see who kind of topics that are coming up in your area and your sector, but also it's a way to understand what ways people are growing and kind of pushing themselves forward. And this morning we're joined by Robbie O'Neill, and he's a Senior Customer Success Manager at LinkedIn. Morning, Robbie. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you very much. Nice to see everybody as always. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, there's loads more people. At least another 10 people have said hi and good morning since we said that. So anyway, hi to you, Robbie. They're all saying how are you. It's good to have you here this morning. How's the summer been?
It's been a summer at home for me, but just back from a couple of weeks holidays where we had some staycation. We had some family over who we hadn't seen in quite a long time. So always nice to round off the summer in that way. But getting back into the swing of things now after a couple of weeks off.
Lovely, great. Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being here this morning. In the ballpark, what are you going to share with us today?
So I have a presentation to get through this morning, so I might start off by sharing my screen.
Great. Well, I'll hand it over to you, Robbie, if that's okay. And if any questions come up, I'll jump in and ask you. And if not, we'll get to a chunk of them at the end.
Brilliant, absolutely. Yeah, I might not be able to see all of the comments in the chat, but like that, the guys are going to be keeping check on them. So please keep any questions flowing as we go. I come from a pretty small but a loud family, so I'm well used to being interrupted. So hopefully everybody can see that. And as Rowley mentioned, my name is Robbie O'Neill, and I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager working within LinkedIn Talent Solutions. My job essentially focuses on how companies attract and target talent on LinkedIn, and then how they engage with them. And anything from employer branding to overall marketing communications, as well as the talent acquisition strategies for companies, will fall into my remit and role. I'm based out of our Dublin office, and typically within our introductions, we do a what's not on my LinkedIn profile. So one of the things that isn't on my LinkedIn profile is I am a massive marine biology nerd. If anybody wants to talk whales, dolphins, sharks, octopus, anything, it doesn't matter. If it swims, I love to learn about it. I love to watch it. I love to engage with it. So that's the one of the things that's maybe not on my LinkedIn profile to help you guys get to know me a little bit better. And what we're going to go through today is a couple of different things. So we're going to just start off really briefly just to get to know LinkedIn a little bit better. Rory did a brilliant job of summarizing kind of some of the things that we can do on LinkedIn. But we're going to look at the why LinkedIn has become that platform, just really quickly. From there, we're going to focus on your profile. And I like to think of your profile as your story and your platform to communicate with your network, with people outside of your network, with people that you might be looking to engage with, and people that might be looking to engage with you as well. So we're going to spend a good chunk of time on your profile and how you can use it to tell your story from a career point of view, as well as from a personal point of view. From there, we're going to look at how we can be proactive using the platform, whether it comes to job seeking, whether it comes to researching jobs, and then subsequently researching the companies that you're seeing are posting the jobs too, as well. It's always a massive part of making sure that we find the right fit for us as an individual, making sure that the company's goals, missions, and values align with our own as well. So we're going to show you guys a couple of little ways that we can go about that as well, and some of the places that companies will use on LinkedIn to help showcase that info as well. And from there, we're going to look at engaging on the platform as well. A lot of people over the couple of years I've been at LinkedIn, just coming up on 3 years now this month. And one of the most common things that I hear from companies, from individuals, from job seekers, and from hiring managers is the hesitancy around engaging on the platform when it comes to sharing content, when it comes to commenting, when it comes to messaging, sharing opinions, sharing news articles, and stuff like that. So we're going to try and demystify that a little bit towards the end, and look at how we can put our best foot forward when it comes to actually engaging our network once we have our profile set up the way that we would like it. And then once we know how we can search and find jobs and search the companies that are there, research the companies, then we're going to look at how we can engage our networks as well. So like I said earlier on, any questions that you guys have along the way, please do let me know, but I'm going to jump straight into it now. So for anybody who hasn't used LinkedIn before, maybe you're brand new to it within the last couple of weeks or months, LinkedIn is a platform that allows opportunity to find people and allows people to find opportunity as well. In terms of our economic graph, we have upwards of 700. I'm clicking here, but nothing's happening on my slide, so forgive me. Here we go. 760 million members. I think this is up to 765 at the last time I checked, so I might need to update this slide. And after that, we also have a multitude of schools and companies that have been listed. At any given time on the platform, we have upwards of 14 million jobs posted live. Now, that gives you a massive, I suppose, hopefully, energy and enthusiasm to be able to go and use the platform to find these roles. And we're going to look at how we can fine tune that as well. But the representation of companies and subsequently the jobs that those companies are posting on the platform is consistent throughout the year. What we're seeing now in terms of the profile developments, and particularly where we look at the great reshuffle that there has been within the last 2 years or so, is we're seeing a massive increase in different skills being listed on people's profiles as well. And I'll speak a little bit more about those. But at the moment, I think this is now upwards of 38,000 skills that we have the capacity to label on our profiles. And I mentioned schools. There's over 115,000 institutions online with a really good presence on LinkedIn that are focusing on early careers. So if there's anybody on the call today who has maybe just finished college or even starting college, thinking that it's a platform for professionals who are within a decent amount of tenure within their career, you couldn't be more wrong, because early career development and targeting in terms of recruitment and graduates and students is a massive component of the platform. And all of these things, and when we put all of the users together and the companies and the jobs that are listed, the profile capabilities that we have, the engagement that we have, particularly with the institutions that we're seeing now as well, on an annual basis, all of these components amount to over 358 billion touch points and data points on the platform, which we deem to be knowledge sharing, knowledge interaction as well. And one of the reasons that LinkedIn has been the go-to platform for a number of years is because audiences are now more savvier and skeptical than they've ever been before in terms of online engagement. And LinkedIn has been the undisputedly most trusted platform across the last number of years. If I probably needed a bigger slide for this because it does go back further than 2017, but it just gives you an indication as to how people are, or why people are so comfortable, particularly within the modern landscape, to be able to come and engage with LinkedIn on a daily basis. And the big differentiator for me as to why people are repeat users throughout the day, throughout the week of LinkedIn, is that we do have the accessibility of information. We do have the option to target opportunities on the platform, But for me, the differentiator is the people that we have the capacity to engage with on the platform as well. And we have seen a huge amount of growth year on year in terms of not only people landing onto LinkedIn, but then subsequently engaging on LinkedIn, whether it's sharing, liking, commenting, messaging people as well. I might throw a quick question out into the chat because it will give me a nice little segue into our next section. Does anybody know, and maybe you can throw it into the comments and I'll bring them up here on my other screen. Does anybody know what the number one activity on LinkedIn is? Now, that could be liking, could be sharing, could be messaging, could be viewing someone's profile, could be viewing a company page. I might pause for 10 or 15 seconds and see if we can get a few answers. What's the number one activity undertaken by members on LinkedIn? And I'll selfishly take a little drink of my coffee too. So we've got networking, news, scrolling, brilliant. Yeah. Liking posts, viewing profiles as well. Okay, you've all obviously done this before. So viewing profiles. So members viewing other members' profiles is still the number one activity. Michael, I'd love to think that you're right, given the space that we all sit in. But actually, it's viewing members' profiles. Now that can fall into recruiting, that can fall into networking, that can fall into so many different kind of forms as to why somebody would do that. But if we think about that for a moment, that it's still, and that has been the case for about the last 10 to 12 years, um, ever since the platform originated. And when we think about how many profiles are being viewed and the engagement that drives the views on those profiles, to me it's always really important, and I speak as an individual right now. This is not carte blanche because your profile is a particularly personal thing. For me, I want to be able to communicate with my profile. It's not an online resume for me. There are details that I have omitted, such as the marine biology stuff as well. And I'll get into that a little bit more. I think there might have been a question on that, so I'll explain a little bit more about that as well. But to me, I want to be able to tell a story. I want to be able to give a linear explanation in terms of where my career has started, how it has developed, and how I've ended up where I'm at right now. When we go into it, you guys will see that I have a bit of a diverse background in terms of my career history and some of the jobs that I've taken as well. And not everybody might assume that the positions that I've held will lead me to where I'm at right now. And a lot of people question the path that I've taken. I'm not questioning it in terms of why would you do this, but more how would you do it as well. And hopefully my profile gives a bit of an inclination as to how I've been able to manage my journey. So we're going to look at a couple of really kind of the fundamentals of the profiles here, and then I'm going to jump into a bit of a demonstration where I'll actually have a look at my own profile, how it's built up. It's not the best in the world. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. There are things that I have omitted in my profile because that is a personal decision of mine. But some of the fundamentals and some of the brand new things that we have listed. Now, you guys will probably have all seen these, but you now have the ability to be able to designate your own individual pronouns on your profile. Again, thinking how can we allow people get to know us by looking at a snapshot of our career history or of our personality in terms of our LinkedIn profile. Candidates think it's more important that recruiters and hiring managers know their gender pronouns and as such are able to address them as they would like to be addressed. And hiring managers agree that having clarity about a candidate's self-identification is massively beneficial because it allows them to engage from a place of respect as well. So I wanted to call that one out. You will also see here on Kira's profile that you have a little speaker there as well. One of the things that we can now do through our mobile devices is you can actually voice, or you can do a voice recording of your name and how it's pronounced as well. So again, allowing people to get to know you a little bit better. And if someone is going to reach out to you, then they come from a place of understanding and they come from a place of knowing. They don't want to mess up the first name. Impressions are as important as they've ever been as well, and first impressions being the most important. So having someone to give someone the ability to be able to introduce themselves to you from a place of knowing where they are, they have confidence in terms of how they're going to address you, in terms of the pronouns that they're going to be able to use, as well as the pronunciation of your name as well. It just gives them a massive starting point in terms of the confidence levels that they've had. Now, when we look at the story that we can tell, please remember that this is 100% up to you. Okay, social media in general can bring along with it a lot of baggage, whether it's anxiety in terms of what we're communicating, anxiety in terms of what others are communicating on the platform. Please start off the process, if we're updating our profiles, by eliminating that and including what you are most comfortable with. Now, what we have the capacity to do, straight away, we know we have our profile picture, we have our background pictures as well. If anybody doesn't have a profile picture up there, it is not the end of the world. Okay, there are ways that you can go about creating your own. There used to be the old rules: no black and white pictures, only professional headshots, no selfies. I think particularly through the pandemic that everybody has gone through, personalization of your profile has actually taken a massive leap forward. You're now seeing people with their pictures with their kids, pictures with their family, pictures with their pets, whatever the case may be. I myself have a black and white photo, and I've had it since I joined LinkedIn. I'll probably look to try and change it because I think it's a pretty old one, but I'm quite happy with it. So I'm going to keep it for a little while. But actually, when I think about including a new profile picture on my own profile, I would probably want to have something that might have my son involved, or might want to have something that might have my wife involved, because I feel like that gives a true representation of who I am as an individual and what's most important to me within my life. So your profile, I would recommend always using an up-to-date. The better the quality of the photo, obviously, the better that we're going to have it. For anybody that's going in, you will get recommendations on the size of the frame for your images, whether it's your background image or your profile image as well. And again, there are no parameters here that you have to work within. So whatever you guys feel comfortable with, let's include it from there. One of the things that some people do tend to leave out, which generally is a pretty easy and quick fix, is the location. You might not think about having a location on your profile boost your visibility in searches by 23 times, and it can help potential partners find you in terms of working. It can help hiring managers find you, recruiters that are using the tool constantly to scan through for individuals that are relevant for their roles that they're hiring for. It's always a really great, quick and easy win to be able to tick off the list. The summary section, or your about section, this is where you get to provide a bit more of a personal overview of your career and even highlight some of the areas of expertise that you might have. I knew when I was first applying to LinkedIn that my career history was probably not the natural trajectory that they had had in the past for people that were coming into their customer success organization. So what I wanted to be able to do was to make sure that anybody who was considering me for a role, who came onto my profile within 30 seconds, could get an understanding as to who I am as an individual and why my career path has taken the road that it has. And I will show you guys that really quickly as well. But I think it's one of the areas where we have the ability to express ourselves in terms of it, and it doesn't have to just be from a professional point of view. Remember, we're telling a story. What you're doing here is you want to provide enough information for people who land on your page to get to know you as quick as possible. And we can keep it as high level as we need, or we can go into whatever detail that we need to explain whatever we want to communicate. Again, I cannot stress this enough when it comes to the profile. This is a personal thing. There is not going to be a one size fits all approach to your LinkedIn profile. So do what makes sense for you there as well. When it comes to your experience, obviously we wanted to be able to make sure that we include as many of the roles that we've undertaken in our past career, and making sure that we can provide whatever context we feel is relevant within those as well. There are a couple of trains of thought here that we can go along with just the actual title, the time that we were there, and the position that we held in the company that we worked for. And that's absolutely fine. if we want to, we can go into a bit more detail in terms of what tasks were there, what projects did we manage, what goals did we achieve, what results did the team go through, and what business results were driven as a result of all of our activities as well. And within our experience, we can also use photos. We can include presentations. We can share links. Maybe there's articles. Maybe there's papers that have been published based on the work that you and your team were doing or you were doing as an individual. So we can get creative here in terms of what we want to include, even from a visual point of view as well. Always remember, I probably should have said this at the beginning to set up the profile stage, but always remember that we now live in a digital age. Attention spans are as tight as they've ever been in terms of the time that people will allocate towards going through the information that you have. So making sure that it's visually appealing in terms of its setup. Bullet points are always great. We don't even have to use specific bullet points, but even to include spacing when it comes to your summary section, when it comes to the experiences that you're putting through as well. Always a really good one. And something that we actually don't have listed, which I will go through within my own profile, I just wanted to give it a really quick mention just to get it in everyone's mind. As you can see under Jeff's name here, we have Executive Chairman at LinkedIn. Okay. We also have our own tagline that we can outline what we're doing at the moment, and it doesn't have to be just specific to your role. So I will get to that within the next slide or two. And just to finish out on what we'll see in terms of the snapshot on our profile, education, always a really great one to make sure that we have filled out anywhere that we have attended, any accreditations that we have, whether it's diplomas, degrees, masters, postgrad stuff, anything that is there, make sure that it's included in on your profile. Not only when we think of it from a hiring point of view and how recruiters use LinkedIn to try and identify relevant talent that is studied within the field that they're hiring for, but it also helps your alumni network find you as well. And it will then, the platform will also then be able to proactively share people that might be relevant connection or people that you might have studied with in the past too. Your endorsements and your skills that are there. I mentioned that we have a huge amount of skills on the platform as well. I would always go through those myself. I go through them maybe once or twice a year, making sure if there's anything that I've learned within that time frame that it's added onto my profile, and to make sure that anything that is relevant to my specific role is called out, that is there as well. From there, any of your colleagues, past or present, or any of your network at all can go in, and once they see that, they can actually endorse you for those skills as well. We have had an update to the feature recently where we now have skill assessments that we can undertake to demonstrate the proficiency that we have within a particular skill. So if we have Microsoft Excel or Power BI listed on our profiles as a skill that is there, we can now take the time out to actually complete a skills assessment on LinkedIn to demonstrate just how high level our skills are, or if we're being introduced into this skill and it's something that we're just undertaking, to show where you're at in terms of the progression that you've had with developing that skill as well. And the recommendations part, these tend to allow others communicate from a place of authenticity on your behalf, and likewise for you and for anyone else that would give a recommendation for a previous colleague or someone that you may have managed or someone that may have managed you as well. It's usually a pretty quick and easy thing. Historically, there has been, I suppose, the thinking that it needs to be extremely long. It's like a reference letter that someone is giving, but it can be something as really quick and easy as a shout out for an achievement or an accomplishment or something that you guys brought to a particular project or to a particular team or to the business that you were working for within that space and time. And your interests are going to be who you follow, who you're engaging with, what companies you follow, what individuals you like to keep up to date with as well. And again, here's where we can try and make sure that people who come onto our profile might see any commonalities that are there. I'm going to pause there for a second and I'm going to stop sharing the presentation because I'd like to jump into the actual quick little demonstration if I can. And I'll go through a couple of the other features. Rowley, while I'm sharing my profile, are there any questions there that we'd like to jump into?
It was the one that you referenced already from Colin. He's kind of wondering. That's quite an interesting piece you said about marine biology. Why wouldn't it be in your profile?
Because it's not something that I've studied. It's not
Okay.
something that I have any particular. I don't have any accreditations or I don't have any
Mm-hmm.
documentation for it. It's a personal hobby of mine. I lived in
Mm-hmm.
Canada for a number of years, so whale watching once a month was a must for me. Going down to the aquarium, I did a couple of kind of volunteering hours just in terms of tour guiding and stuff like that. But it's just been nature programs. I think a lot of people in Ireland grow up with David
Mm-hmm.
Attenborough and that type
Yeah.
of thing. So the reason that I haven't listed it on my profile is because I like to try and keep a couple of things that maybe people can find out as we go along. So maybe just holding back a little bit of information, but I've never actually considered putting it on my profile, to be honest.
Sure. And but has it's never been an area you've worked in professionally though, has it?
No, never, never,
Okay.
no.
Okay. So that would be another maybe differentiating factor there too.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. If you asked me a question on killer whales, I could probably answer it. But if I was to sit down and say, "Have I ever studied killer whales?" No, only in
Yeah.
video footage and in my own spare time, which is
Oh,
probably
great.
a sad
Excellent.
thing to admit, but
No, oh, not at all. It's. Well, I don't know. I don't know about everyone else, but I think it's always great when I uncover someone's passion and hear what they're interested in, and just and kind of see somebody light up when they talk about something. It's no matter what the topic is, even if it's something I don't know that much about. But as an avid sea swimmer, and I previously did a bit of kind of kite surfing and stuff, like I'd be a big fan of the water. So I hear it resonates all right.
100%.
Let's
I'm the
move on.
exact same.
Elizabeth was also asking a question. Do you think people are more authentic in their profiles when they actually have a job than when they're trying to secure a job?
Honest answer, I think authentic people are going to be authentic 100% of the time. And I don't think I don't think there's ever a time where you should put something on your profile that isn't going to be a true representation of who you are as a professional or as an individual. Um, Now, that being said, can we make sure that our profiles are as relevant to the roles that we're looking for? Absolutely. Can we make sure that we're doing our job research to understand what skills are being required, what skills are being preferred by companies, what are the basic requirements that I have to have? Yes, we can use our profile to communicate those. Should we do it if we don't have those skills? No. But where we can tailor our profile to make sure that it's more relevant to specific areas, I think we should. That being said, always coming from a place of authenticity will be the key.
And it's not it's not that you're misleading people. It's just that the profile is only so big. You can only share so much. Like you're just
Yeah,
focusing people in on the piece of information that you want them to see and understand about you at the time. Like it's not like you can't get into like everyone on here is over 20, so that's 20 years of something and a lot of us are multiples of that, so there's a huge amount to unpack about somebody that you can't fit into a small kind of profile piece or even a CV. So like you have to be selective, and it's not in a
100%.
disingenuous way. It's in a
100%.
you asked for this, I'm this, here's a good match.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to give you a really small example of that, right? I worked as a plumber in Canada for nearly 3 years. I don't have pipe fitting listed as a skill on my profile. Okay, I don't have the exams and stuff that I did within that area listed on my profile purely because it's not relevant to the career that I have right now and the career that I wanted to have when I came home.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, yeah, couldn't agree more. Just a really quick one before I jump into the profile,
Mm.
Damien. Yes, I do. I mean, or sinus orca to be completely exact. Yes, absolutely. Um,
And that was
so
a perfect segue. And I think that was a perfect segue to get you to fire up and show us your profile. Go on.
yeah, I think I have it shared there. It should show up. Brilliant. Perfect. Great. So again, I'll go from top to bottom. Okay, and I always try and start off with if anyone who joins onto my profile can they get to know me as best as they can with this digital snapshot? Okay, so straight away, I've got my profile image there. I've got my name that is listed. I've got a background image, which is specific to LinkedIn, but it's also specific to my personal values, right? As an individual, I am someone who strives for equality of opportunity, for accessibility of opportunities as well. And it is something that I work towards passionately within my role as well as outside of it. So this is why this particular image resonated really strongly with me when I saw it. It was something that I wanted to include in my profile. Your background image, your profile image, these can be pictures that you have taken. A lot of people taking a photography within the lockdown area. It could be your local area, it could be your home, it could be something that you've built. It doesn't have to be specific to an organization, it can be specific to you as an individual. I'm quite lucky in that both of mine matched up together pretty well. And again, anywhere you guys see your pencil mark here, that's where you can go on ahead and edit any of these settings. So again, I can reposition this picture, I can straighten it up, I can change it up if I want to as well. I can zoom out, I can zoom in. You've got filters, you've got adjustments that you can have. And again, for anyone who's putting in a new photo, you will get recommendations in terms of the best photo size with your profile images as well as with your background picture. Now you'll see my tagline, we had Jeff Wieners earlier on, which was executive chairman at LinkedIn. My tagline here does actually include a bit more than just my role. Again, I want to help people get to know me as much as they can as well. Now, looking at what I've included here, I'm a senior CSM at LinkedIn, which I am. I am a dad. I have a 2-year-old son, and I have another one coming on the way as well. And I like to think that I'm a number one dad. I like to think that that's the best job that I have. It's the most important job that I have. And I wanted to make sure that it was listed here so that anybody who comes on, it's again, we were talking earlier on about commonality, trying to find ways that people will come and they'll be able to resonate with you as an individual. I think that being a parent or even a pet owner or anything like that is a really great way to create that personal bridge where people can either use that to introduce themselves to you, or you can use it again subsequently to introduce yourself to someone else. But the emphasis being on how can someone get to know me quickly within this digital snapshot. I'm also a social impact program manager at LinkedIn as well, included in some of the work that I do here with you guys. And on top of that as well, I am a team lead for our Go Green team in EMEA here, where we focus on highlighting opportunities that organizations have for sustainability, as well as looking at creating awareness around whether it's climate change or anything along those lines as well. And we do quite a lot of those types of events within LinkedIn again, and these are all just on top of the normal day-to-day. One of the most important things for job seekers to make sure that you guys are aware of these functions is you now have the option to select to show recruiters, and not just recruiters, but your overall network, that you are open to work within a particular area. Okay, so if I want to show that I am looking for a new job, I'm going to click on here. Now, if I wanted to select a couple of different titles, as far as I'm aware, I can select 3. So let's look at customer success manager, and maybe even the next step in progression. Who knows? My manager might see this, might give me a quick ring. But if I wanted to look at maybe managers in customer success or a customer success manager, I am open to hybrid work, I am open to remote work and on-site work as well. Here's the job locations. But I mentioned that I lived in Canada for a little while, so I might be interested in understanding what roles are in British Columbia at the moment as well. And in terms of the remote work locations as well, I can add that in. I can also share whether I'm immediately and actively applying, or if I'm flexible and I'm just casually browsing the jobs that are around. Now, the final and one of the most important parts of this as well, other than selecting what job types you're open to, whether it's part-time, temporary, contract work, or full-time only, I can also select who can see this information on my profile. So if I wanted to just be recruiters only, and I'm already in a role at the moment, and I don't necessarily want to publish this out to my entire network, I can select that it'll only be open to recruiters who have access to the network based on having a contractual agreement that they can search through the platform and search through members' profiles to try and hire people. If I'm actively looking for work and I don't actually have a job at the moment, for anybody that's in that current position, I would highly recommend that you select that it's open to all LinkedIn members. What this will do is this will add a banner to your photo frame, to your profile image. Okay. And looking at that as well, it will also give that visual cue to anybody within your network that you are open to roles as well. Okay. Now I'm not going to turn that one on right now for the moment, but hopefully it's really quick and easy. A couple of clicks of a button. You don't have to have similar job titles within it. You can have multiple different job titles as well. You can have multiple locations if you want as well. And if there isn't enough space there for the information that you would like to include and the jobs that you would like to look for as well, again, we can get creative in terms of our about section. Okay. Couple of small things to just look at. We can have there's a space here for featured articles. So here's a couple of things that I've shared that are relevant to my network. We focus a lot of time on email response rates with recruiters, with the companies that we work for. We also look at some of the kind of economic graph, some of the changes that have been coming to the network. These are things that I have shared out to my network as well. There's a post here about my team. We broke the 4,000 mark for our Movember initiative. A couple of really, really bad mustaches were made along the way as well. And other things that we can showcase on our profile that are important to us as individuals, even if it's just articles that we've seen, news articles that resonate with us, if it's things that we have actually curated ourselves, there's a lot that we can include here in the featured part. And the about section, again, I mentioned that within a couple of different spaces as well. Here's where I feel like people have the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. So I might just zoom in on that as well, and maybe you could take a minute or 20 seconds or so to read through it. If you feel like at the end you have a better understanding of who I am as an individual and where I've come in terms of my career path, then I've succeeded in what I wanted to achieve with my summary section, with my about section. So I will stop talking for a quick second and just take another little sip of coffee. And please don't point out any spelling mistakes if there are any. I'm notorious for those. So hopefully that gives you guys a better understanding as to where I've come from. Now, if I scroll down and look at my experience, again, you'll see that I have a couple of different articles and links included in the job experience to give a flavor as to some of the things that I've been working on within my role. And you can see my career history has gone from LinkedIn. I worked on a project on a contract basis in Google AdWords. Prior to that, I worked as a plumber, and before that, I worked as a product specialist and sales executive for a healthcare company in Dublin. So not necessarily your natural career path, and hopefully, what I have within my about section has gone a little bit of the way to help people bridge the gap as to, well, how do you go from medical products to plumbing, and how do you go from plumbing to digital advertising, and how do you go from digital advertising into global talent acquisition? It doesn't necessarily make sense in terms of the progression, but what I've included here in my about section, I hope gives an idea as to who I am as an individual and why I've taken the steps that I've taken and how I've taken the steps that I've taken to be able to do that. And again, I'll always come back to this: is can I use my profile to communicate the information that I would like to have somebody have access to who's just landed on my profile and doesn't know me from Adam and is trying to get to know me a little bit better? And I feel like this helps me achieve that. I'll pause there because I know I jumped from a couple of different things. So are there any questions at all in terms of the open to work fields that are there, or anything at all on the profiles before I jump into company research and job seeking?
Hey, Robbie. There's one question. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but I'm going to try Isim. When we specify more than one area of work, can recruiters see all or just the one that they're searching for?
Within the open to work section, so essentially to kind of talk you guys through what they will see. So recruiters will have what we call a recruiter seat or a recruiter license, and that will essentially give them accessibility to the entire LinkedIn network. And they use filters like job titles, locations, companies, skills. You can use keywords as well to help identify individuals that are relevant for their roles. Within the filtering options that they have, there's a space that we call spotlights. And this is where they can kind of narrow down what we call warm audiences and warm candidates. So anybody who has the open to work section filled out on their profile will show up within the spotlights. Okay. And the recruiters can then highlight that talent pool, people who are just open to new opportunities. And subsequently, then they can see the information that you've shared on the open to work field. So anything that you include there, it's not going to just be specific to what they're hiring for or what they've searched for. Because they're looking at your profile, they will be able to see every bit of information that you've included within the open to work section. I hope that answers the question.
I hope so too. Excellent. Let me see. Eva says, and I don't know if this is common, but I suffer from this sometimes as well. Eva Dalton says, despite the information and job search specifications I list on my profile, I still get messages from recruiters for roles that don't reflect this. Is it common that your profile isn't read in full?
Yeah, going back to the attention span earlier on, I saw an article that said I think it's 30 seconds. And I think that's specific to resumes and CVs and applications. I think it's 30 seconds at a glance. I think that's one of the reasons why, particularly when we look at the job titles that we have listed, are they company specific or are they general to the overall area or industry? And I think that the kind of making sure that we do an overhaul maybe once a year of the skills that are listed, like that skills from previous roles, you might be showing up in somebody's search based on the fact that they're looking for something that you used to do.
Yep.
So they'd be the first, kind of the top two things that I would look at there.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to do a job for Apple. My role was called lead creative. And in advertising, there is a creative lead or a kind of that would run an entire department that would pull together kind of creative programming for adverts and commercials and stuff like that. So often I get, when I search for that or people search for it, and really I was a learning and development manager and I ran a team of 20, but and it explains
absolutely,
but
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
Apple's specific naming nomenclature around it was something different.
Yeah. And I have to say, I went through down, if I go down here, I've got like the licenses and certificates and stuff like that I have, but the skills that I mentioned earlier on, I try and make sure that these are most relevant, A, to the position that I'm doing at the moment, and then B, making sure that I've taken out some of the older ones. Of course, yeah.
Because Deep asked the question, how do I edit skills? And somebody earlier said, I can't remember where the question was, it might have been Deep as well, but they were saying a lot of the skills that are in there were actually like nominated and recommended by other people. So like, how do we go and prune those?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So I can look at so I have the pencil mark here. Anywhere you've got your pencil mark, that's where we're going to edit the particular section. So it's usually going to be at the top of everyone. So if I look at the licenses that I've included there, I've got my pencil mark. If I look at my education, pencil mark, and again, experience. So to come down into the skills, and I can click on that now, and now I can see that I've got the top 3 skills that I want to essentially pin at the top. Now, these might not necessarily be the skills that I have the most endorsements for, but I feel like these skills are the most relevant ones to me at the moment in my current position. Now, you can see here, sales operations, sales management, product development, account management, market development. They're all skills that were specific to my previous roles. And I think even when I come down to looking at customer acquisition, customer retention will probably be a part of my new role, but it wouldn't be one of the skills that I would list out. So there's quite a bit here that I might need to go through and just analyze a little bit to see, well, what is relevant to the current role that I have, or what is relevant to the roles that I'm looking for. And again, I'm going to jump into the job side of it now. I hope that answers your question as to where you can come to edit them. Again, I always think it's great that they're broken down. So we've got our interpersonal skills, what we might call our soft skills. whether it's emotional intelligence, cultural awareness, teamwork. And we've got other skills as well. If we look at social inclusion, diversity and inclusion, these are all things that are now coming to the forefront that people are looking for individuals with to try and diversify their talent pools within the organization as well. You guys may hear a lot of people say, well, we're looking for the cultural fit. That is now the kind of the old school train of thought. You now want to look for culturally diverse candidates. You want to look for the cultural additions to an organization as well. And a lot of these skills can help you demonstrate that what you'll bring to an organization. So always make sure that your skills are up to date. Again, if you find that you're being reached out to by people that aren't relevant and they're looking for roles that aren't relevant to you, again, one of the things that I hear that as a common pain point for individuals using the platform, one of the things that I would turn around and say to do is to make sure that you've got the attention of the person who's reaching out to you. Hello, Mr. Recruiter, Mrs. Recruiter. I'm not actually interested in these types of roles, but I am interested in these types of roles. Do you have a colleague or a person in the organization that is hiring for these positions, and could you introduce me to them? Right, great
Well,
way to
that's a
be able to
great
try
way to
and
turn it around.
just
I'd never
yes,
thought about it
exactly,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Instead, because and I have to say, like I do receive quite a few emails and in-mails from recruiters, typically purely based on the fact that I work at LinkedIn. I don't even know if a lot of them have gone through my profile. But if there's anything of interest that's there and they've personalized and they've shown that they've taken the time to get to know me a little bit better, I will typically keep the conversation and the communication channel open. Right? It's never a bad thing to know recruiters, and it's never a bad thing to get to know them or even the organization. So if I wanted to come in,
Why
sorry,
don't
go
you?
ahead. Yeah.
Why don't you? I would suggest, since it's almost 20 past 10, if you want to move on to the job section. If there's any other questions, we can wrap up at the end. We'll
Yeah.
do that as well, because
Yeah.
I think the next
Absolutely.
bit's quite helpful for people too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So the jobs again. I'm just going to go super basic on it. I'm going to look for a customer success manager, and I'm going to start really broad. Now, one of the things that I want to call out here is there's two things that I always focus on. So often I see people using this feature to look for a job title and a location and nothing more. But we have the option to use so many different filters. So I wanted to come across straight away and I'm going to click on all filters right away. Now I can see whether it's the most relevant job or the most recent job that are being posted. I can see when they've been posted. I can see the different levels. I can see the top companies here that are hiring for these roles. And I can also see the types of roles, again, whether it's full-time, part-time. Now we have access to be able to look at what opportunities are remote, hybrid, on-site, and what locations, as well as the different industries, functions, as well as the job titles that might be relevant to it as well. There's a huge amount that we can look at here, and one of the exercises that I would typically go through, and I did do this when I was searching for this job in particular as well, is I can see now that I have just over 1,400 results. Okay. Now, when I click into the all filters, maybe I'm only interested in hybrid roles. Okay, I like that. I've got a young family, and time is the most important thing that I have. But I can see now that there are no results for that. Okay, hybrid is a new feature, so I wouldn't necessarily assume that there's going to be a huge amount there. But maybe I'm only open to remote work. Maybe I've relocated throughout COVID. Now I can see that I've got 229 roles within Ireland that are offering remote work for customer success managers. So now I can choose to select that as well. Okay. And if I wanted to look at maybe a couple of particular companies, I'm going to just go completely random here. Again, I can see the results that are there and I can apply them to it. I want to make sure that I'm only looking at full-time roles. And again, my results are always going to be changed based on what I'm showing. Now, job seeking is a very, very tough place to be because there's a huge amount of pressure that's involved with it. I know because I've been in that scenario, and I think there's probably a lot of people on the call who are in that particular scenario right now. One of the things that you can do in a really small and easy step that you can take to try and take some of the pressure off when it comes to looking for a job. You might always feel, and I felt this particular pressure, that I had to log in every single day. I had to make sure that I knew every single role that was coming out, because if I missed one, the sense of failure in terms of having a job sit there for a couple of days or 4 or 5 days or a week even that I hadn't applied for, that I hadn't seen, was huge. And it took me a little while to realize that I had a job alert that I could turn on. And I can come in and I can manage that alert. This should work for me. Brilliant. So now I can see that I have a customer success manager. And this is a previous one from a demonstration. I'm not actively looking for a drug safety specialist role. But now I can see that I have a frequency of a daily email and a notification on any new relevant roles based on the criteria that I've put in there. They're going to show up. So I know in the interest of time, I'm going to just park that one from there. So please always use the filters, all filters that you have access to that are relevant to you, and make sure you turn on a job alert so that you don't have that pressure to make sure that you're researching and refreshing the page every single time. And now what I can see from there is I've highlighted some of the companies that I think would be a good fit as well. Now, Zendesk is top of the list here, so I'm going to have a look at their page. What I want to do is I want to try and learn a little bit more about Zendesk. And then when I click into the company page from their jobs, I'm going to be brought to their life tab. Okay. And what I can see here is I can see there's a video here that I can watch. There's some trending employee content. Okay, cool. What's this? This is essentially posts that are aggregated, posts that are shared by Zendesk employees using a particular hashtag to demonstrate what they're sharing. So it's called trending employee content. You get to see some of their perspectives. You get to see some of the things that they're sharing. And a lot of the top companies on LinkedIn will have this live tab. Now, the live tab is an add-on to the company page that they may have to pay for. So not all companies will have it. So if you see companies that don't, that's absolutely fine. You've still got the about section. You've still got the websites that you can scroll through as well. But it helps me understand who they are as an organization. I can see some of their leadership. I can understand what's important. So work-life balance straight away. It's a buzzword, but it's actually a priority at Zendesk. Okay, cool. That's great for me to know because I am someone who has a young family and time is the most important commodity that I have. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Brilliant. Okay, that's a particular focus of mine. And again, we're looking to align cultural values with your own personal views and goals of who you would like to be as individuals and who you would like to be as professionals as well, because they are now one and the same, hopefully across the globe. Social impact. Okay, brilliant. Right now, I know that this is exactly what I'm looking for in terms of an organization. And all I've had to do is create a really quick search. And I've just come onto the company page, and the life tabs has given me such a huge amount of information for me to be able to understand the company. Now, I can obviously go through the articles, I can go through their company website as well, but just speaking specifically on what we can see on LinkedIn, I've been able to understand who they are as an organization, what relevant jobs that they might have that are particularly focused on, on my career. And what roles might be most relevant to me as well. And again, there's a huge amount that we can do to look at the different roles that are here to just give you guys an understanding as what I was talking about earlier on in terms of making sure that your skills are as up to date as possible. You can see here we've got all the different information. Now, you guys, I think, will all have premium access as well. So the more engagement on the job, the more insights that you'll have. So I can see here, here's essentially the list of skills that we would like to have as well. So here are some of the requirements and what you'll bring to the role. So again, just making sure that the information that you have on your profile is as relevant and authentic and true to your previous experience as you can to this role. It will help you set yourself up for success in terms of how you build your profile, the particular roles that you're looking for, as well as making sure that the information that they are sharing is as relevant as possible to the information that you're sharing too. Are there any questions on that? I know I flew through that section because we had a lot to cover in the profile area, but any questions at all on that?
I'm just having a scan there. Lots of thanks yous and cool tips. Didn't realize it was a hybrid feature around setting up the job search. But yeah, I think that hopefully that's really helpful for people.
Brilliant, brilliant. So yeah, so I can, if you want to bring back up the presentation now, I can fly through that. There's a quick recap in terms of I saw one comment on articles and engagement as well. So with the job searching, make sure you utilize all of the filters that you've options or the options you use, and take some of that mental weight off as well. in terms of that job alert. And when it comes to the companies, we want to make sure that we're focusing on culture and values, maybe the products that they have, the business lines, that any of the news that's being shared. And with the job descriptions, understand the basic requirements that they have, and then the preferred as well, and the responsibilities that you'll have within your role, and make sure that your profile is set up as best we can. And like that, the life tabs just give you so much information. Different companies have them set up in different ways. There's areas for students. There might be a particular tab specifically for their diversity efforts, or specifically for their sustainability efforts, or whatever the case may be. There are now product pages even being introduced with those as well. And the final thing, when it comes to engaging on the platform as well, the top three I can put together really quickly: liking, commenting, and sharing. The more you're engaging, the more visibility you will have. Anything that you engage with on the platform, even if you're liking an article that is shared by somebody else, that like will then be published out to your network. Okay, so your network will then see what you are interested in. They will see what you're engaging with as well. If you post something as well, and somebody will comment on it, you now have access to what we call your second degree network. So your first degree network are people that are connected to you. If you post an article, or if you post a picture or a video or anything on LinkedIn, and someone else comments on that, that comment is then broadcasted to that individual's network. So they're your second degree network as well. And when we share other people's articles, or we share our own articles as well, it just boosts not only your visibility, but then the understanding of what's important to you, and the things that maybe you're working on, or the things that you're passionate about, to your network and to your audience as well. And if we're posting, whether we're posting team successes, whether we're posting a company's unique culture, or we're posting a resource or something that's educational that's there on the platform as well. One of the things, and to that question about how can I boost the visibility, the more people engage with you, the more that you should engage back. So if somebody goes to the trouble of commenting on an article that you've shared, comment back to it, even if it's a week later, because what that will do is it will bring it back up to the top of the timeline. Okay, and again, it will create notifications for that individual, but then it'll also access, or you'll also be able to access second degree networks when it comes to the comments that they've left on your profile, and then the subsequent responses that you've shared as well. So just a really quick and small, hopefully an easy one to follow. I know we're really tight on time. I'm really sorry. We've had quite a lot to cover, but if we'd like to leave open to any questions, I'm happy to stick around for a minute or two to go over, guys.
So there's a technical question. I'm not sure this is you, or it's one to be directed as a support ticket. But is it possible to change primary account? I'm trying to switch to my English profile instead of Turkish one, but couldn't. Is that something you'd be able to answer?
To change the language on your profile?
No, it sounds like there's more than one profile account.
Oh, okay. If you go through the help buttons, so there's like an engagement button that you can get in touch with someone to have one of the profiles taken down, if that's what you would like to do. Otherwise, it's just going to be logging in between the two.
Good. And Fiona asks a question. Could you give us a little insight on the recruitment process into LinkedIn?
Oh yeah. Huge amount of recruitment going on at the moment. To be honest, it's slightly different for internals versus externals. Now that's not to say that it's one-sided, because I've actually gone through a couple of the internal processes, and to make sure that they're as fair as possible for internal and external candidates, we always have the exact same materials to go through. We have the exact same hoops to jump through as well. Typically, we'll go through two conversations, one with the hiring manager, one with the recruiter, usually the recruiter first and then the hiring manager after. From there, you will typically have 2 to 3 rounds of interviews, depending on the role, depending on the level of the role, whether you're an individual contributor or a manager. And there'll be variations of role play conversations, competency-based questions. But it's typically, I think it's 5 rounds in total, with the conversations included.
That's a few, but it's not a huge amount, right?
No, but it can take its time.
They
can be pretty extensive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think, so do you have any suggestions for Deepa? She says she writes articles every week. How can I drive more views on her articles?
I think making sure that one of the small tips that I would look at would always include hashtags. Making sure that you're including relevant hashtags that are there. I think focusing on the time of the postings as well, like midweek mornings are great for posting on LinkedIn, because typically you get people that are logging in for the day. They want to get the news, they want to get the sections. Making sure that you've got a relevant audience as well. If your network base isn't, or the content doesn't resonate there, you want to make sure that you've got content that's resonating with your network base as well. They'd be the kind of top three.
Yeah, cool, great. And then a quick one from Ruth, and we'll wrap up. Do people put a lot of weight on whether you have less than 500 or more than 500 connections?
Personally, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen someone get hired because they had more connections than somebody else. I think that is, again, kind of maybe speaks to what I mentioned earlier on around the social anxiety that comes with social media platforms in general. I wouldn't focus on the amount of network connections that you have, or try and get above that 500 number just to have it as a box that's ticked.
Yeah, I think that's quality and I'd agree with you. It feels like that's something that's kind of people are used to maybe looking at on like YouTube or Instagram, you know, where there's, or TikTok maybe, where it's like, well, like how many, like how influential is this person? Whereas I think on LinkedIn, it's usually just a matter of time that those numbers just kind of climb up. But I don't think it means you're less connected or less professional anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Time will heal all of those wounds.
Great. Robbie, thank you so much for your time this morning, and we really appreciate bringing that to us. Clearly from the comments, there's plenty of people saying thanks for that, very insightful, lots of tips that they hadn't heard or thought of before, so much appreciated. Great.
Hopefully so. Thank you for having me. Oh,
no, it's a pleasure. The pleasure is ours. Thanks to Robbie and to the rest of the team behind the scenes this morning. So that's everyone at LinkedIn who helps us with our process and with our relationship, as well as obviously some people you don't see in the background are Ian, Laura, Ross and Anna are kind of in the background, kind of working away, making sure that you guys get the up-to-date information that make this look and feel great. So big props to them. Thanks to everybody this morning, and thank you for joining. Really appreciate the questions and the comments and the engagement today. It's been great to have you here and be able to kind of get this information out there. I did see one question there, which was, can we have another session? Of course we can, but one way you can do, if you sign into LinkedIn and go into LinkedIn Learning, there's lots of courses on how to rock your profile and just kind of general introductions to LinkedIn. So there's plenty of research you can do and training you can do to kind of get yourself up to speed and look like a whiz on LinkedIn. We can talk about that later on in the calls that we do on your course or as part of the kind of wider groups that you're connected with to Jobcare. Hope you have a super day. Get out, enjoy the warm and the sunshine while it's here. And that's us over and out. Thanks very much for joining us on Jobcare Live.